All right, so that should be better. I tried start streaming and I was getting all kinds of yellow and red on my status on the stream, and I was still connected to my VPN, which causes problems all the time. So now I am not on the VPN, so that should be good. Um, so welcome back to anybody who's going to be watching the recordings or watching live. Um, I am working on an issue here that we knew would come up. Um, Basically, there's an issue with the Twitch notification system where it can send multiple alerts. And this happens, what they say, rarely in their documentation. Let me just find that real quick. Webhook. Um, Something like this. Let me think it's this one. No, it's the other one. Yeah, so in their guidance here, they say rarely the same notification may be delivered to you twice. For this reason, a unique ID is included in each notification payload. If you want your application to ignore duplicate notifications, keep track of these notification IDs and ensure you do not process the same notification twice. So yeah, so that's kind of like sad. Most webhooks that I've ever worked with don't ever quote unquote rarely send you the same notification twice. Usually you get the notification once, but the result of their issue is that I get the notification twice and then I send out notifications twice. So there'll be two notifications on Twitter and two notifications on Discord. Um, Now there's going to be two that went out for this stream, but that's because I started the stream and then stopped and then started again. So it was technically two streams, and that's legit kind of stupid. Maybe we look at that at the future one, but I knew this might be a problem in the future, and it turned out to be a real problem last evening. If I go to um, if I go to Discord here, and I look up to where Corey was streaming last night, and then Kevin Marquette. You'll see that it notified twice for both of these, and that's just like silly. And it's because I get the notification twice in the queue, it sends out the notifications twice. So we're gonna look at fixing that here um, in the hopes of preventing myself from spamming the world whenever this happens. Now, if I look now, I should have two notifications for me, but that's again because I started streaming, stopped streaming, and started again. So over in VS Code, what I'm looking to do is use a table to kind of track the state. So um, Azure functions should be stateless, they should be asynchronous. You shouldn't really track state in them all that much, right? So it's kind of hard to say like within this framework that I've already had something come in. And I think the messages between Corey's streams was like 15 minutes or something like that. And you're sometimes in Azure Functions not going to have the same actual instance of your Azure Functions running in that time frame. It's possible that it could have shut down and then a new instance is running. So you can't do any caching inside the C# code here. Um, so so there's no way to do any kind of caching inside the C sharp. So I can't like just use some kind of uh, hash table or hash set or anything like that. Uh, I really need to have something outside of Azure Functions Attract State, and since I'm already using Azure Storage, I might as well use a storage table. Um, so I'm going to basically work with that. And I worked recently with storage tables. I don't do a whole lot with Azure Storage, but this is going to be kind of fun to figure out as I go. I was reading the documentation earlier on this here. Um, the version 2 of the functions runtime, which is what I'm using, doesn't support the iQueryable type. So you have to take in like a cloud table if you're going to do multiple operations. So my goal with the table is to basically store this unique ID and then query it back. And the if it exists in the table, I'm going to assume that I've already sent out a notification for that tweet. And if it is not present, I will assume that I have not sent out one and I will queue it. Um, so that's kind of what the goal for this table is. I'm just going to basically use that. I also want to see about storing a timestamp that I can later have some kind of cleanup to go back and clean up older entries uh, in the table so that I'm not just keeping every single record of every single web request that comes in. That's kind of a not necessary. So it looks like the right way to do this is to basically do some table and then cloud table. I also need to add this using statement so that I can actually use cloud table inside the code. So that's going to be kind of borrowing here. I've also got the documentation for Azure tables up so that I can kind of uh, reference this as we go along because I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to um, figure this out. But the and I also went ahead and created the Azure table before I started, so I've got that set up. So this table tag or this table attribute is something that we're going to add into function. If I go back to VS Code here, the place where I want to make this change is on the stream event handler. So if you recall the architecture of this, there is a Twitch webhook ingestion, which is responsible just for making sure it's a valid webhook request. And then it immediately queues it um, into the uh, queue for the Twitch stream event handler. And this one is responsible then for distributing the notifications to all the different notification handlers. So we have the Discord and the Twitter handler right now, and the queues for both of those. Basically, we're just requeuing that. So this is kind of a muxing operation. It just takes the single input and requeues it into multiple places. And so this is a good place to do this kind of operation. Um, so that's where I'm going to put it. I don't want to do it in the Twitch webhook ingestion function because that one is meant to be really fast return because the webhooks usually require a quick response, and if you don't respond quick enough, then they'll send another response later. Um, so we want to not bog down that function as much as possible. So in here, we're gonna add that using statement. I'm gonna And then down here, we're going to add a table attribute. And this should be the the table name um, should be in here, and we're going to take this again from a I'm sorry, a application setting slash environment variable, which should be, I'm going to give this Twitch notification table, Twitch notifications table. That's so it's kind of following the same thing there. This is going to be a cloud table type, and I'm going to give it the name of notification table. All right, so now I can access this variable, this table, and do normal kind of storage query uh, things against it. So the table's defined. This should automatically bind it. I think that I need to define a storage account. If I do, it's not showing anything there. Let me refer back to the documentation real quick. Where do they define what storage that's coming from? See, in the other ones, they had like you had to set the storage account that it was coming from. I'm not seeing that being set anywhere here, so I might have to read up on this table attribute to figure out what it's doing, which will be fun. Let's see. Table attribute. Can I get the full name on that? That would be awesome. Table name partition. Yeah, so it doesn't take the storage. Not exactly sure what it does, to be honest, or how to interact with it. Like, how does it know what storage account to use for that table? Well, this will be fun. It also might not work with this the same way as the other ones did, but webjobs.table attribute resolve row key string connection. It might work the exact same way. Like, let me look at one of the Q, go to the Q definition and see what it looks like. Looks like it works the same way. We'll see. I'm not completely convinced that that'll work right, but we'll see. So I'm using Windows 10. That's what OS I'm on right now. I'm a pretty heavy Windows user. Anyways, so That's it for the table for now. I'm going to assume that this works the same way. I could dig around the documentation, but it's better just to give this a shot. If I try to run it locally, um, it should give me some information here. So I'm going to save this and do func host start. I need to change directory into the source folder, and then do func host start. Okay, there was some red there. And that's because I don't have the settings for that added. Um, Let me look at the settings on here in the oh, not that one. The function. And then application. Nope, not application insights. Application settings. There we go. So I'm pretty sure for these ones that Discord notifications is a good one. So Discord notifications is, yeah, it's just the name of the queue. All right, that's fine. So here I'm going to add a new settings, and then I have to do it locally as well to make this work. The setting name is Twitch notification table. And I believe that I named it Twitch notifications. And queues. Tables. Twitch notifications. So we'll just set that value here. I'm going to go ahead and save. Remote. Now I need to add that setting locally. Now let's try starting it. Make sure that it binds to that properly. All right. So that seems to have worked properly. So at least getting the binding down is okay. So the next thing to do would be to query against the table and check for the event. So this is going to be fun to figure out how to do. I think I need to create a query and then do the query. This is not running async, is it? No, I have this synchronous. I should really change this to async while I'm at it. Um, but we'll leave the synchronous for now. So going back to the documentation here that I knew I would need. Retrieve a single entry. Table clients, that might not be the right API to use. Table query. Um, Table operation equals retrieve table.execute. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. Okay, so that should be relatively easy to do then. I just need to create a table operation of retrieve table operation to retrieve, and I need to define a entity for it. So I need to have a model for what that's going to look like. So we'll need to create another model. But I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in here because that's how you really program. I think I'm going to get rid of that. Change this to var. Customer entity doesn't work because I need to actually define a model. So I think I'm going to call this Twitch notifications entry in my models. So this should be a JSON thing like some of the other ones that we've done. Let me get something that's simpler. User data is really simple. Copy this in and then paste this in. For now, I'm just going to do a string called ID. Rename this. ID, and then I think I want to add a date as well. That way I can have, I think that the table actually comes with a date on the response, but I'm not going to mess with that. This is going to be a date time. I should have to add using system. And that will work. So we basically will store and retrieve two things, and that's an ID and a date. So if we go back to the event handler here and change this, I've got my models are not listed, so I need to add that using statement first, but we'll try just doing this and then using right-click programming. There we go. So that adds the using statement in. So what are you doing here? in generic type string. There's no implementation reference. Let's see if they have an example of what their customer entity looks like. So they have customer entity. They have that defined anywhere. Yes. It's a table entity, so it needs to extend table entity. All right, we can do that. Copy paste programming is the best programming there is. So this probably needs to add using storage table in there. We need to change this from and then change this to ID and this to a date time called date. Oh. Okay. Let's see, any of these unused? Yep. And partition key, I'm going to take this in as stream name and this as, so row key should really be the ID, so I don't even need this. So all I'm really setting is a date. And the row key is an ID. All right, so that should be our data model for that. And now this should stop complaining about not being able to use it, which it does. I need to change this into a var. And then table is notifications table. And execute is not there. So let's see what we've got. I think this only has execute async. Why is it? Let me keep on that, man. Yeah. Yeah, execute async. And then I can pass in the retrieve operation and then do this. Normally this would be a bad idea, but this this is running in this isn't running async. And I'd have to change it to async to use the actual async and await and get all that, which is a good idea to do, and I might just do that, but I'd have to change the collector types and make a whole bunch of code changes, and I think it's better to implement this and then later go back and change everything over to async. So I'm going to add that to my to-do list while I'm here, to copy this, go over to do. Oh. So that way I know to do that later. Actually, this is completed. I'm going to go ahead and kill that while I'm in here. Tweet already does come in from an app setting, so we're golden there. All right, so I need to take in some real things here. So stream event username will have this. Now it says that there's passed in a unique ID, and that's what I'm going to have to pass in here. I don't know what that is. So I need to look at the logs and the documentation to figure that out. But quick, I need to take a real quick break, and then I'll be right back. All right, so let's get back to work on this. So basically I want to use the stream username, which is also their stream name. So it should be the name of their stream. And I'm going to go ahead and do to lower on this just to be extra careful. And so I'm going to use their stream name, which for me it's Marky Kraus, for Corey that's Core Bob, so on and so forth. I'm going to use that as the partition key, and then the row key I'm going to use whatever unique ID it is that they say that they're giving me, and I got to figure out what that is. So I'm going to dig through the logs on the function, and I should be able to see mine coming through. That's not the right one. Webhook congestion is the right one, and monitor. So ID looks like it might be it. Let me look at another one here. So I think this is the I think this one's slightly different. So I have 3.9. I'm gonna put this in. Up here. Just put this in here for now, and then I'm going to look at the other one, see if it is the same, or if it was because it looks different, and it should be, in theory. And it was, yeah. So these were the two IDs that came in from my stream. The I need to double check Corey's from last night if I can find it, and just verify that it was a double entry with the same ID and that I'm not chasing ghosts here. Uh, so there's Tyler's from earlier. Tyler had a pretty interesting stream today on he was fixing some problem. I couldn't follow all of it because I basically had it on in the background while I was working, but he was fixing some problem with VS Code. It was kind of interesting to see. I've never worked with that tool set, so that was interesting to see him get that set up. So this one is Kevin Marquette. Okay, so this is a good example. So these are both Kevin Marquette. I got two of these events. I'm just going to copy these out so that we can see them. Um, and then we'll go to Firefox again and go to this one, this one, this one, and this one. Yep. We'll just look at these side by side to see like what happened. So it like looks almost the same, except there's like some minor differences. So the ID was definitely the same. Language was the same. We get the tags ID, and the first request was null. The other thing that I noticed about this when it went out was that it had his username, which is what came in as Kevin Marquette with this. So I'm thinking what happened is that during the yeah, it looks like during the stream he changed the title. Um, so that's good to know that that happened. I want to see what happened with Corey's, which should be the ones before that. That's Kevin. This is Corey going offline. This should be Corey coming online, and this should also be Corey coming online. Yep. So we're gonna copy this one. And copy this one. And see if there's any real differences between these two. It doesn't look to be any different. Yeah, so it was exactly the same, which is entertaining. So it basically sent me the same one twice. Now Kevin's it's slightly different, but I did get a the same ID. Um, so good to know that in the future, if we want to do something like update what the title is or something like that. The ID is not unique to, it's unique to the stream, but doesn't necessarily mean that details in the notification have changed. So that's good to know. Uh, to me, it makes sense a little bit why I would get two notifications for Kevin's because there was a change, but I don't see a good reason at all for why I received two for Corey's. It looks exactly the same, both of those. So, um, but now I know it's ID. That's the piece that's on there. It definitely seems to be unique between streams and this. I need to see if I can get Corey's a good example because he streams more often. So I need to find Corey's previous stream where he came online and just double check that it has a different ID. And yeah, it's a different ID. So it's the same channel, but a different ID for a different stream that he was doing. Uh, so that's good. So I can use this ID field. I guess that's what they're talking about is unique ID. So now that I've figured out what exactly that is, it should be stream event. And just to be extra cautious, even though this should be all numbers inside the string, I'm also going to put this to lower. All right, so this will be how I query it. It's going to be um, the partition key is going to be the stream name, and the row key is going to be the ID. And then the only data that I'm putting in there in my model, if we go back and reference that, is date. So I'm going to have a date inside there that I store. And that way later I can pull up all of the rows inside of a partition and uh, check the date, I think. There's some way to do that. That's a down the line issue. Like we don't do a high enough volume of streamers and streams and notifications that I'm worried about like table storage exhaustion or anything like that, or running exorbitant charges in uh, Chris's Azure tenant. But it's something that I do need to keep in mind, and I should add that to my to-do list. Yeah, so ideally it would be some kind of scheduled uh, function that runs on a time trigger and cleans up all the table entries that are older than X amount of time, which is why I wanted to use a date time on the uh, date field so that it's just really easy to work with. So going back in here, so I've looked at this. Um, Now, I don't know whether this throws if it doesn't exist or if it's null. I think it's null if it doesn't exist. So uh, I'm gonna log. I'm gonna go ahead and log. Warning? Is there a warning on this? Because it's not really an error, um, but I wanted something more visible than a Yeah, I want it's more visible than just logging information so that I can go back and look at these uh, notification for, this is going to be username. I'm going to put stream name. So we want to be able to fail out of this quick, and then we want to return. So we're just going to quickly get out of this, and I'm tempted to put this even above the processing. So here's the thing about Azure Functions and why this is particularly troubling and why I don't like this problem being forced onto me by Twitch. And if anybody from Twitch is watching, please fix this problem. Please don't send me duplicates, or allow me to set something like that, because this is crazy. So what happens in Azure Functions is that uh, the functions kind of run in parallel, right? So if I get a notification in and then I get another notification in, and they happen to like be processed through the queues at the same time, it's possible for this to run at the run twice. So I could get two notifications with the same ID, and they could clash here when I try to uh, get them. So they could both come up saying that they're not in there because they query the table at the same time before it's been added, and then later when I add it, one will add it before the other, and maybe it writes over, maybe it doesn't. I don't really know. We'll see what happens there, but the uh, it's possible. Now, luckily, like the times, if I'm looking at these correctly, between when these came in, and let's go back up to, yeah, so this is Corey's. This one was they were several seconds apart, which is good. A couple of seconds difference is actually no. Yes, they are a couple of seconds apart. A couple of seconds difference is good. And the one for Kevin, I think, is 15 minutes different. Um, well, it's a couple minutes, like 2 minutes or something like that. So that's good. Um, so there's a significant amount of time, but it's possible that they could have been like uh, a few milliseconds apart, and then the queues process however they do. Like you don't get any kind of guaranteed ordering in queues with storage queues. Um, you only get that with Service Bus, and uh, you don't get singletons in Azure Functions consumption plans. So the a singleton function is a function that only runs a single instance of, so it never scales out. There's only ever a single instance of it running, so that would kind of force a bottleneck um, for queuing from the front end onto this muxer that would then process serially all the items in the queue. But that's not possible with the consumption plan. I'd have to switch to an app service plan, which is, just a little too expensive for what I'm doing here, which is basically free. So I'm going to have to just hope that I don't run into this kind of. So, okay, so it is The way that I have it set up, like if we look at the Dave Carroll is asking about table storage and um, could you store the incoming notification, then have another function process them in sequence? So I'm already kind of doing that. So what happens is this webhook ingestion gets called. It queues up the item after it does validation. It comes into this muxer, um, which is what we've been working in. And what it does is it just turns around and queues it into two other queues. And then this Twitter queue fires off the Twitter event handler, and that Discord one files off the Discord event handler. Um, so it's possible that I could have this queue like be this queue item basically be a singleton and chain these where they have to chain off, but it doesn't stop the fact that on the webhook ingestion, like they could send me 20 of the same notification, and that would queue 20 different items. And then I would have the same problem. So those 20 items could possibly spawn off 20 versions of um, the stream event thing, and then this in turn would spawn off 20 Twitter event handlers and 20 Discord handlers, and it auto scales out and all that kind of stuff. So on app services, you have a singleton option, which you basically like apply to here with singleton uh, attribute, and you give it like some kind of ID or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. There's some options that you can set on it. But on a consumption plan, not possible. So I can't, there's no effective way with a consumption plan to create a constriction there. The only way that I could do it is to ensure that I have you can say that everything has a single instance and a single run in the host JSON. You could configure that. Um, but then, like, this won't be able to scale at all, and everything basically runs uh, serially, and that would be kind of stupid. I don't want to do that. Um, so I'm having to implement crazy to kind of get around this. Uh, Ideally, I would use something faster than Azure storage tables too, like Redis cache. It is much faster at store and retrieve than Azure tables are for this, but they're also more expensive. So like adding the Redis cache service is not something that I could really do. There might be some other caching mechanism that would be better, um, but I'm just gonna have to hope that the few seconds that are different between the notifications is good enough, and will catch like 90% of the duplicate notifications, and then the other 10% I just, sorry guys, like I'm doing my best with whatever I'm doing for free here. It's not like I'm getting paid to do this, right? It's volunteer work and I'm trying to do it as cheaply as possible. So after I've said, the retrieve result, if I found something in the database, if I've already got a hit for this stream name and the ID, if I've already logged this, then I just need to exit. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna log a warning and return. So after that, we can process, but before we actually add stuff to the queue, I want to add it to the table as fast as possible too. So we probably need to do another update. I'm gonna go back to the documentation here just to look at, there's a retrieve, replace, insert or replace. I'm gonna insert or replace. Is there insert only? Because that would be interesting. Let's see what table, there's an insert. insert or replace. So insert operation. So I might be able to also do this too, and try to insert. Um, I could probably do this in a single call. That's what I do with other things. Uh, is try to write, and if it already exists, it's kind of like using a hash set. Um, Let me see. Replace operations will fail if the entity has been changed since it was retrieved from the server. Further, you must to accomplish this. You could use the insert or replace options operation. It inserts the entity if it doesn't exist, or replaces it if it does, regardless of when the last update was made. Um, so insert. Yeah, I'm not sure what this. Look up table operation insert and see what it says in the documentation here. Creates a new table operation, given entry. I don't know if this actually fails um, or what. Like, does it it doesn't have any exceptions listed. Uh, hmm. Returns a table operation object. This is really weird. Like, what is this bully? Echo content. Oh, that will return the true if the message payload should be returned. False if otherwise. Let's see. Be nice if the insert operation throws an exception if it already exists. So I'm gonna look up. Looks like it does throw an exception. That's good. So I could have a second check here. Still possible to have some collision, but two checks is better than none. Uh, so what kind of exception does it throw? That'd be nice to know. Is there some way to find out what exceptions a API and the storage API throws so that I can catch the right storage exception? This will be entertaining. So I don't want to just blanket catch everything, but I'm gonna name this insert operation. If I can type properly, equal. This is going to be table operation insert table operation dot insert. I think that this isn't genericized. Yeah. Yeah, so I need to create a new one of these. And there should be the same thing here. Insert. Helps if I spell table right. So oh, there we go. My head's all kind of messed up on the uh, programming today because I was working in PowerShell this morning and then ARM templates this afternoon and now C# this evening. So context switching is painful on this. So catch, I think I'm just gonna say same thing. Hopefully. I log error. Is there just an object? Is it possible for me just to throw an exception in there? Event ID exception, string message. Okay, so how does this work? Catch, I can never remember. Yeah. C# try catch. Yeah, exception E. Just need catch everything, which is just exception E. Just like normally like a bad ideas, right? Like don't do this, but I don't, they don't have it documented what exceptions it returns. And I don't want to try to dig around for that when I really don't care. Like I'm just gonna turn around and give this exception back. So what option do I have? String message. All right, that works. Hopefully that's helpful. It's probably better than nothing, better than not logging the exception anyways. I'm going to put question marks here because maybe that's not the case. We'll see, but we got an exception here. We log the exception, then we return. Um, Otherwise, it's safe to assume that this already exists. So in theory, this should be all that's required to actually fix this issue. Um, so what we're doing is we are uh, adding a table here um, to create a table reference. We do a retrieve operation where we get the username and the ID. So username as the partition key and ID as the row key. I do need to update the date when I do this. All right, so I'm updating the date on that. All right, sorry, I got sidetracked there. So we pull in this. If it exists, then we are going to uh, exit out of here. We're going to log a warning and return early. Then we're going to try to insert. And if it already exists, because insert should throw if the entry already exists with that same partition and row ID. And then we also will do that. Otherwise, we assume we've added this properly. We're the only one who's run, so we're going to go ahead and queue this up. So one thing that I want to do before I go forward is to look up table operation retrieve and double check the whether that one throws or not. So that's not the one. Maybe it is. Retrieve string list. Select columns. Nope. I don't know, is one of these optional? Yeah, equals null. So this is the one that's getting called. Creates a new table operation, retrieves the contents of a given entity in the table. What if it doesn't exist? This is where it could be fun to play around with tables. So let me see if retrieve operation. I'm hoping it returns null. Table operation dot retrieve would be better. So it's under results, actually, that I need to check. Table service context dot ignore resource not found exception. Okay. It's a good thing I looked that up. That was a bit of weirdness. So it should be a result, and then before I do that, I need to, on the notifications table dot service client dot default request options dot. That's not it. So let's see what they were saying in the thing here. So no, dead links make me sad. Data service context. How do I get that from the table? Table.data services. So this is cloud table, which is not the same thing, I don't think. Some data services. All right, let's try digging around in here. Dot. Name. URI. Service claim. It's got to be in here somewhere, right? Default request options. Location mode, max execution payload format. Server timeout. That doesn't look good either. Let's see. This is out of date. So maybe not. Okay. So what kind of exception is that then? Not found exception. So I don't want to just blanket catch exceptions here. Alright, just look up cloud table. See if there are exceptions in this. Okay. If you could list your exceptions, that would be really great. Anyway, let's go back here. What am I doing? This isn't even actually executing anything, right? Like, that doesn't actually do the work. Let's execute async. You do that down here too. Dot does creative not exists? Delete if exists. Delete execute async. Exists async? Huh, what's this one? Maybe that's a faster way of doing this. It might just be an exist operation on it. Cloud table, methods. Execute query exists async. Whether a table exists. Okay, well, I don't care if. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. So exist doesn't do what I want. Execute async is what I'm going to run on the table operation. Let's see if you tell me what kind of exceptions you'll throw. No love there. Table requests options. It's another thing that could be done. So we look at table request options and see what I can do. Then project property resolver, require encryption, retry policy server timeout. No, that's not going to help. So I don't know what it's going to throw if it fails. That's not helpful. All right. Yeah. Execute async. Can you not skip the exceptions? That'd be great. Thanks a lot, Google. Like, that's an important word. It should definitely be there. Yeah. Looks like I just have to trust. I might have to actually change this over to async. Otherwise I'm going to get the weirdness that happens with exceptions. All right. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and change this to an async task. This is going to be an I async collector. Yep. This will also be an I async collector. And execute async. Let's check it out. Let's see if it is relevant. I was actually still on Firefox and not even showing you the code I was typing. I'm very sorry about that. All right, let's look. Table error code string members. Badge duplicate. Entity not found. So is this an exception? Yeah, because it's just a string. So is there an entity not found exception somewhere? That'd be really nice if the exceptions were listed somewhere for this. Let me look. Entity not found exception. Uh, yeah, no exceptions listed there. Let me look at the getting started. And there's any like try catches in here? No. About exceptions. Nothing about exceptions either. That's maddening. Like, do you throw exceptions or not? Do you give me null or not? Maybe I gotta go with both. Yeah. I mean, like, these are the error codes that it comes back, but I need to know the exception type so I can catch the exception. So I need the .NET exception type. I don't know whether I'm just getting a web exception or whether it's like what kind of exception does it return? So if I have to catch it and then parse it and check, then that's clone David, execute async. I was already searching for this and not getting any help. request result dot translate from exception message. Ooh, what's this? Get storage error message. Is storage exception and oh, that's crazy. All right, so here's something. It looks like it always does a yeah. It looks like it almost always does a storage exception if it's something that it legit needs to do. So we can try working with that. Um, so we're gonna need to wrap this bad boy up in a try and a catch. Let's see if there's something. Oh, it's complaining about here. Okay, so let's see what we can glean off of this E character here. E dot data request information message request information dot time HTTP status message. So this is a storage exception. It's a request result. What kind of request result? Anyways, I've got at least something to look up. Storage exception now. Something resembling a real thing. So request information. Okay, now looking at that table of error strings. So table error code strings, entity not found. And then that other one that we found was strings. Yeah. Entity not found, error code. All right, and then look at this answer again, storage exception and question status. Should be status message. String empty. Error code. Be nice to see like what this looked like. If I look at the message, maybe they're not, maybe they're doing something special with the message on storage exception. No. It's just the base message. Anyways. Let's take a look here. When in doubt, look at the source code, right? Just trying to look for any kind of guidance in this type as to what I get back where that I could trace back to being something. But it looks like if I get the status code and it's 404, then it means that it's not there. Uh, if storage exception, core translate async, some kind of translate on it method, looks like. Methods, translate exception. Translate the specified exception into a storage exception. What? That's not exactly what I was expecting. Yeah. At least it's there somewhat. I'll just try doing that. It's basically like if it's 404, then we know that. Otherwise, it's some other error. We need to log it and figure out why, because I don't want to swallow the exception. What kind of type is this? This is a request result.http. It's an int. All right, so that should be 404. If they were doing all kinds of stuff, like if the request information was populated, I don't know if I need to be that thorough. Can I do this? I can never remember like what the proper way to do this with a. Yeah, I got it. Let me look at this code from this example that somebody had. Basically checking just going to put this in the front of the logic there. That way it's at least not going to give me some kind of my own exception here in a catch block, even if it is kind of infantile to do it this way. I need to do this as a table result. So, and remove this here. Otherwise, I won't be able to use this back here because I still want to check to see if this is null, even though use of unassigned local variable. What are you caring about that for? If you happy now? No, now you're complaining over here. Use of unassigned local variable, retrieve results. Do this in here, whatever. Same here. Log warning. Else. Alright. Making some progress here. Exceptions, man. I also need to do this down here for a general catch. Okay, so this is really ugly. um, but whatever. It's all nested. There's some repetition here, but it's like, I don't know. If I get back the result and it's null, then it doesn't exist. It already exists. If I no, actually this is this is the other way around. If not equal null and this equals 404, then this is log information. Information. Log warning is say have not been queued. And then otherwise we need to log an error saying this is unknown. So basically if we get a 404, which means that it wasn't found, that's good news. We want that. We're fine. Um, if it otherwise, if it gives us a storage exception and it's something else, we don't know what that is. So we're just going to log the exception and exit early. Um, and then for everything else, any other weird exception that we don't get, we're just going to exit early as well. We're going to log an error and exit early. That's a lot of code for that. And I don't need this anymore, I don't think, because I can just var it. So I actually don't care about that after it's done. So we have to do some similar stuff down here. So this is our insert operation we're working on. We created a table and entry with the username and ID, and we set the date on it. Create an insert operation, and then we execute this. And then I'm just going to assume that, let me see, there might be a good way to just duplicate properties, entity not found, too large, invalid input. Yeah. Table already exists. Method not allowed. So entity already exists, yes. So we can look specifically for this one too. When we do the insert, and it's 409 is the code on that. And that's the only 409 it looks like. I hope. No, there's more 409s. There's also another 404 for table not found. So here's a docs.microsoft.com opportunity for somebody who understands any of this to write up the exception handling with storage. That would be great. Because this is a mess. I have no clue how to like translate between all of this and do any kind of meaningful exceptions on this. Let's see, is this storage exception? It doesn't even have any examples on the SDK information, so see, storage exception. Yeah, no examples, nothing. It's a static, yeah, it's a static one. That's not helpful. It's good for creating it, but figuring out what's going on, that would be fantastic. So this is a request results, and extended error information, status code, status message, ingress bytes. Whew, that's just rough. It'd be nice to know which of these I check against the strings for entity not found. Like, where would this be on there? What would I compare against? I have no clue how long I'm going to be streaming for. Not too long, like at max 45 minutes. Hopefully less than that. Hopefully I can tie this up quickly. All right, so I'm just gonna cry on an exception here and do that. I don't want to mess with all of that. There's too many what ifs and all of that that I don't want to deal with it. It looks good enough. So let's do func host start to see if it throws any initialization errors, which also tests that it builds properly, which is good. It looks okay. Um, Again, I don't have anything set up to where I can test this out. So the only real way that I can really test this would be to deploy live and run some stuff. Ah! And it blows up. Why? Storage exception. No. Oh. So this is because I don't have my storage emulator started. Let me start my storage emulator, which for whatever reason I can't display this screen no matter how hard I try. But just make sure this doesn't blow up. Okay. So that's good. It's not blowing up. I don't think I can do the storage explorer either. But I'm just gonna make sure that it created the storage table locally. Sorry, I can't make this one show up either. It's fantastic. Emulated tables, queues. Did something like that. I have to put something in it. I kind of have a way to do this. I can disable notifications and then set the local fake key for this and then do something in. So let's do that. Func settings list. So Twitch subscription hash secret is the one that I need to do and set that to test 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then I also need to set disable notifications to true. No, entity already exists. What? No, that's not what I wanted to copy. whatever. Uh, all right, remove this setting. All right, so that will not send out fake notifications. I think it would kind of blow up anyways. I think some of these are fake values that I have for like the information, but really all I'm caring about is the table queuing pieces of it. So I should have in my PowerShell code, yes, this right here. So I can actually, no, go in here and do this. And this should create a fake payload. And set this and set this, and then func host start. Well, fun host. I think it's a fun host. Start the function here. This should send a fake notification payload. But I did this in my integrated terminal, which is not good, so I need to do it in the other one. View terminal. Does it not start the other one? All right, start PowerShell. There we go. CD source func host start. And now in my integrated terminal, do this. 404 not found. Oh, I probably have the wrong. Yeah, this has changed since I did this before. All right, let's look at the Twitch webhook ingestion. Oh. Bad requests. Let's see, what did this say? Signature mismatch. Testing 1 2 3. So just change this up. There we go. And if I look at the node response here, that's fine. Discord event handler, that's fine. Twitch stream handler, Twitter queue add. Well, that's entertaining. Doesn't look like it did anything with the actual, like, Didn't look like the Twitch stream event handler logged anything about that. Said that it's completed Twitter ad, but there's nothing about it's like not being there, which might be good. Like if I look in my tables, let me refresh it. I can't show this, so unfortunately, yeah. So the table's there, and I've got an entry entered there for my username and row key. I really wish I could display this. That'd be fantastic. Let me just try again. Why not? Yeah, no, it doesn't work. We tried. There's probably some like GPU acceleration on this too. Like everything has GPU acceleration. I could probably share my screen, but that'll look really weird. Um, but anyways, the row is there. Um, so I guess that's fine. It entered it. I want to add some logging to say that I got to that point. I guess it should be obvious that if it's queuing that it actually worked fine, but couldn't hurt to do some information down here. So in the insert operation after that, I want to do a log information stream name to notifications table. Is it not? Should be able to put the name in here. Name. All right, so that should log that. So I got some queue poisoning, but that's because the Discord stuff is not set up locally. Like I don't have all the right information set for that to work, so I expect that to fail spectacularly. So the next thing to do is to try running that same request again. So this should fail because it should find it already in there because it already has the same username and the same ID. So it should fail. And it won't fail the webhook ingestion. It should fail down here. And it it started the Twitch stream handler and then it exited, and I don't get any log information, but that's fine. It seems to have failed the thing. It'd be nice to have some kind of reason why, though. That'd be really great. Actually, the warning's there. Notification for stream name that has already been queued. So I should be able to run this again and look at it. It should be the same thing. Yep. And then I should be able to do this again. And yeah, it's the same thing. So if I change this ID though, run all this, it should go through the process of, yeah, trying to send out the notifications again. And if I run this same command again, it should fail because it's already there. And yes, and if I look in my table, which I can't show, it is now showing two rows for two different things. So I think that's golden. It's this seems to be working, so I'm going to go ahead and do a commit and all of that. So let me close out of here. Actually, I am going to save this because um, the well, the key what didn't matter. The change to the path did. Um, all my other files are saved, so I'm going to revert this line because that doesn't need to be changed. I can revert this line because it doesn't need to be changed. And that looks good. So now I can get this change, make sure, just go over what I did here in this. So the stream ID on this, just to go back over what I'll get to it when I do this rather. So I'll talk about how this will work in a second when I get back to the change we're making. But right now the model that I added for the Twitch notifications and entry just has a date field, which when I'm looking at my storage emulator, I see that there's a timestamp field already, but whatever. The and we're using the stream name and the ID. And so this is what we updated on the stream event. Let me get this out of the way here. Uh, we added some more things that we reference. We changed this to asynchronous, um, which means I can remove that from my to-do list actually while I'm stupid thing here. I like to use one numbering. Uh, so yeah, and we add some table pieces here to basically look to see if it's already there. So the question was, what happens if I stream tomorrow? Um, this ID that gets passed in is unique to each stream. So if I stop my stream and start it again, it'll get two different IDs. But if it sent, what I'm looking for is when this ID is the same, basically. So when a streamer with the same ID has this reminds me, when I'm creating this down here, do I? Yes, I am doing it to lower. Okay. Um, So basically, this streamer name and ID should be unique. And this is the partition key, and then the row key is the ID. And the idea is that if I've already processed queues for the same streamer name and the ID, then I don't need to send out notifications again. Um, but if I haven't, then yes, I need to send out notifications. So this looks decent. There's one more thing that I just want to make sure works properly. Uh, Added to table. All right, so I'm going to stop the function, start it again, And then here, no, not that one, not this one. Do I not have it open anymore? I don't. Example usage. Let me look at the note on this. Yeah, so that one says it's already been queued, and I'm going to change this. And then I keep on wishing that was another tab in here. Yeah, so that tried to go through, and I just want to make sure that the add stream name, Marky Kraus, and ID to Twitch notifications. Okay, good. So that worked. Um, that was the one change that I made between uh, now and uh, the last time the last time I ran a command on here and before this commit. So just wanted to make sure that that was good. To do, I still need to add table function cleanup. That's good. Example usage. This has been updated, so that's good. Twitch, we're all good here. So add this here, make a commit message. Ooh, before I do that, let's see, on the stage all changes. I'm on master. I need to create a new branch. Feature, add, let's see, fix double message, double notification issue. Fix double notification issue. All right, and now I'll make the stages here and commit message here. Fix double notification issue. Commit push. Go to the pull request here. Create a pull request. Which sometimes runs multiple applications for the same stream. This results in multiple notifications being sent out by notification handlers. Add storage queue, storage table to track already processed streams. That's good enough. Probably should link to that here. So I've got this in my history. And include this blurb. So the pull request looks good. We're gonna go ahead and create it, prove it, and set to autocomplete. Not going to delete. So that should build. It built locally, so I'm not worried that that's going to fail building. But we'll watch it anyways, just for the giggles. I guess you could ask. I've got time now. Like I can't do anything while this is building. So what's up? So if somebody changes their Slack or Discord handle, um, what would happen is that right now I would have to remove them and re-add them. There's some logic failures on my part that I'm basically uh, only checking for the stream name. So I can update their Slack or Discord. Of course, it's not going to be automatic, right? So the thing is that with Discord, um, the user ID that I'm using, so let me just bring up the thing here. Vs Code. Look at the file that I have for this. So I'm using their actual IDs, which you have to get in Discord by like clicking on this and doing copy ID, right? That does show. Okay, good. So, and that doesn't change. So the only thing that would happen is if they created a new Discord user, then it would be disjointed. Um, I don't know about Slack because I'm not sending directly to Slack users. Uh, Discord users, some of them are using the same Slack name, so they get notified on Slack. Like me, for example, I'll get a notification on Slack when that happens, um, as well as Discord. But so them changing their username on Discord won't break this, but if they created a completely new user on Discord, yeah, it wouldn't work. They'd have to tell me, and then I could update it. But the way that I have it set up now, I actually have to remove them and then re-add them because I need to add some smarter detection in there in the logic. Um, so yeah, so yeah. That's all over the place, man. But you're welcome. Um, all right, so the build completed, so that means that I should have another build running because it should have merged. That build is running, so there should be a release pending my approval, and there is. So I'm just going to approve this. Now, the last time I tried to deploy live stream, it was complaining about things being in use. Um, and wouldn't actually uh, go through. So we'll see. And it's giving me about this redeploying. Failed with code, blah, blah, blah. That's cute. File in use. So this was the same thing I got last time. I don't know what the dealio is with it complaining about that. It's kind of annoying. But it could be that I've got like log streaming open somewhere or something like that. And anyways, if I go to function and like overview, stop, start, restart. I think that pisses it off enough to where it's like, yeah, okay, I'll run. Um, I think I might need to add a step in here that like forcefully kills the Azure function before it deploys. Come on, man, work. No, it's still complaining about file in use. Every time with this. Locked by an external process. Like what? It could just be that I'm on the page for it. I don't even know. It's so weird. So I completely stopped the Azure function. There we go. Yeah, I think that I need to add a step in here in the deployment to just stop the Azure function. I don't know why the deployment works, but if I look here, let me refresh this, start it up, and then look at deployments. Yeah, failed deployments to production show up there, but and we had the same thing last time. Like it took me 5 tries to get it last time. But so this is live. It's on release 4. It should work. I mean, thing is like this is one of those things like if it works, you don't know. So hopefully we don't see any double notifications, but we also didn't see them for like a week. So who knows? Um, hopefully when Kevin or Corey stream again, then we'll find out if we get any double notifications. But at least for now, it looks like it's up and running. I don't see any uh, issues, although I think that looking at the errors later might be helpful. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and close out the stream for now. Thanks for watching me fix this rather annoying little problem. At least it turned out to be okay. The hardest part of this was storage um, exceptions. Uh, that could definitely use some better documentation for idiots like me to figure out how to actually use it. Uh, so other than that, I think that the code was fairly easy to implement. It was a fairly simple solution, um, and it looks like it's in place. So we'll say goodbye for now, and thanks for watching.